hear me now? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Welcome to the Power Women Network 2024 International Women's Day webinar, where we are weaving an inclusive future. This year, our theme is all about togetherness and inspiring inclusion across all boards. Stay tuned as our speakers take you on a journey of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And now, let's give a warm welcome to our moderator for the day, Rahma Zakaria. Rahma Zakaria, professionally known as CRZ, is a skilled core catalyst, personal brand architect, productivity enhancement strategist, and the self-affair pundit. She dedicates herself to nurturing individuals for professional and personal excellence, guiding them to encounter and embrace the truest and highest expression of themselves. In collaboration with organizations, Rahma enhances productivity and increases profitability through the implementation of authenticated advanced tools and methodologies. Rahma has amassed over a decade of professional experience. She serves as the lead researcher and facilitator at Self-Affair Africa, the pinnacle center for comprehensive personal and professional excellence. She is an esteemed confidant and trusted consultant to high net worth individuals and C-suite executives. Rahma is a certified practitioner of neuro-linguistics programming and emotional intelligence. She is a member of the Genius Academy founded by Jay Shetty, an associate member of the Power Woman Network, the Surge of the White House Family, and Falls BLK Community. Rahma is an alumna of Lagos Business School. Welcome, Rahma Zakaria.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is the Power Woman Network, and we are excited to have you here today with us. It's so good to be doing this with all of us. I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday being the International Women's Day. It was an amazing experience from my end, and today is going to be amazing, phenomenal. Name it, you would love your experience here today. Welcome to the International Women's Day webinar by the Power Women Network. And this year, the theme is all about togetherness, and inspiring inclusion across all boards. We can testify to the fact that women are doing great stuff in the world today. We are making changes, we are leading, we are creating a new path. We are breaking we're breaking the ceilings, the glass ceilings, and we're doing phenomenally well. It is so good to have you here at the time. Just find yourself a good place to sit and listen attentively. So we'll be going on at this time with our first speaker for the day, and that is no other person other than Oluwaseyi Kehinde Peters. She'll be talking to us about building allyship and solidarity. Ladies and gentlemen, let us have Oluwaseyi Kehinde Peters.
Oluwaseyi is an experienced business coach, social entrepreneur, and business strategist with a passion for creating impact, driving change, and empowering people to reach their full potential. With over 20 years of experience in HR, strategy, tech, entrepreneurship, and social impact fields, Oluwaseyi has worked with leading companies in aviation, construction, consulting, financial services, oil and gas, telecommunications, real estate, and global not-for-profit sectors. Through a non-profit, the Pan-African Women Empowerment Network, PAWEN, She has empowered over 2,500 women across 39 countries to build great businesses by providing them with a requisite competence, confidence, and connections. In recognition of her work, Powen was a 2022 Women's Financial Inclusion Award nominee at the International Financial Inclusion Conference, IFIC. Oluwaseyi is also the founder of Tech Up Africa, an organization empowering Africa's youth with sponsorship, mentoring, and skill development to start, thrive, and succeed in tech careers. Since inception, Tech Up Africa has given out over 3,000 young African scholarships. Oluwaseyi's passion for creating impact, driving change, and empowering people to reach their potentials has driven a successful career. A dedication to the gender equality, economic empowerment, and financial inclusion is the evident in all our work, and she is committed to creating a more equitable and prosperous Africa. Oluwaseyi is married with 3 children.
Welcome, Oluwaseyi. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you loud and
It's so
clear.
yeah, it's so good to have you here. Please, you have the floor. Kindly speak.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for the first and foremost, I'd like to say, I'm taking my glasses. I'd like to say a big thank you for the invite. I mean, inviting me to come speak to a group of power women. Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invite. And thank you also so much for doing this because really, when I'm hearing an echo, is that from my system? Okay, so I mean, when I got the topic to talk on allyship, I mean, usually when you talk about allyship, you're speaking to allyship from the perspective of having male allies, right? And so I struggled with it for a long time. For several weeks, I was just thinking through that. I've never had issues with getting support from men. Actually, I've gotten more support from men. So I kept asking myself, are you sure you're the right person to speak to this topic? And then I asked for clarification, and then I was told no, it's from the perspective of women to women. I was like, this should be a 1-day class now because I have enough stories to last a lifetime on this topic. So I'd like to first say a big thank you for even approaching the topic and bringing it to the forefront, especially as we celebrate the International Women's Day. So I'm trying to present my slides. I'm not sure um, if it's showing. Okay, fantastic. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's good. So let me go on to my. Okay, is that something I need to do? Okay. Okay, all right. Please confirm that you can see my slides. Can you see my slides?
I can see it. I can see it. So
Okay.
project again.
It's not just showing. Okay, good. Fantastic. All right, so in the next 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I'm just going to talk about how to build allyship, especially as women. Women. And largely, I mean, I love to tell stories and I love to teach. But today I'll be doing a combination of both. And I'll try to do this within the time that has been given. To give a bit of perspective, I am not going to cover everything because there's just so much to unpack when it comes to women and women allyship and building solidarity. So I'm just going to speak to some key points that I think we can all go home with, and then we can begin to explore on that in our personal journeys. So when I got the topic, this song came to my mind. How many people? Oh, I wish this was Zoom. If you were a brownie or girls or in the girls guide when you were young, you will know this song. And immediately I just connected with the topic. This was the song that came to my mind, and I'd just like to play it shortly. I hope it plays. I'm not sure if this is optimized for playing. Okay, so I don't think it's explained, but let me talk about it. You know the song, the more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. That was the song I wanted to play. And it just summarizes everything about building allyship and solidarity, especially as women, right? It is key. Building allyship is not just for others. You realize that you get a lot of benefit and a lot of, I think, personal satisfaction when you know that you've actively supported other women into becoming the best they can be and to helping them maximize their potential. So today, like I said, I'll just be talking on three key points. The first thing will be connecting. So three C's in building and nurturing allyship. How to connect. So first is connecting. How do you become a great ally? Second is cultivating. How do you attract great allyship? Because there's one thing, it's one thing for you to be a great ally. It's also another thing for you, to attract it to yourself. You also need it, right? And then the last thing I'll be talking about to confront, what do you do when you don't receive the allyship that you expect or you're looking for or you're hoping for, right? So we'll be talking about these three things, and I'm just going to share stories along these three talking points. But first and foremost, let's even understand, what do we mean by allyship? So when we talk about allyship, what do we refer to? And the first thing to notice that allyship refers to the actions. Please take cognizance of these keywords. The actions, the behaviors, and the practices that leaders, we are all leaders. Every woman in this room is a leader. Every woman that would ever get to watch this is a leader. So it refers to the actions, your behaviors, and the practices that you take to support, amplify, and advocate. So you're supporting, you're amplifying, and you're advocating for others. And for me, when I talk about others, I'm talking about women. Because in this context, we're looking at how we can build allyship and solidarity for other women, because that is key into whatever it is that we can become. Because, individually, we're all strong. I mean, look at the analogy of the broom, right? If you look at a broom, if you take a broom strand, you can break it easily. But the collection or the collective of the broom, when you put it together, you must have some really great force to be able to break it, depending on the number of strands that you have, right? So as women, we need to come together. Everyone says it's a man's world. That's fine. But I believe that if we as women come together, work together, support each other, amplify each other's behavior, each other's accomplishments, and advocate for other women, we will achieve great stuff. The men do it, right? You've heard of the men's room, right? The men do it. So we women need to come together. And why is this important? Interestingly, when I was just thinking about this, I just realized that lack of allyship amongst us women is such a big deal that you have different names for it. I mean, you must have heard of PhD. That's the most common one, right? Pull her down syndrome. Sure, the first time I heard about this, in my mind, I was like, I've never experienced it. Maybe because I've only had one female boss, so all my bosses have always been male. And so I always say, I've never experienced it. Some people call it crab mentality. And sure, there's one that I heard recently. I'm trying to remember it. It's called horizontal hostility. It's still talking about the same thing, right? And then you have the black sheep effect, right? Same thing, different names. But the question is, why is it such a big deal? Why does this phenomenon exist? I've tried to think about it and I've tried to unpack it, right? And for a long time, I really couldn't. Because, in all fairness, I didn't experience it. But then, one time in my career, many years ago, right? And I think I should start with the story, and I would pick up pieces of the story, as I go on in my session. So the first thing, so I was in an organization, and I'm not going to mention the organization to protect the names of the individuals. I was in an organization, and there was a role that was advertised. This was like my dream role, that those kind of roles that you've always prayed to God that you want to have. And then I worked hard for it till date. I don't think I have ever in my life prepared for any interview the way I prepared for that interview. I remember going to meet a mentor of mine, and we were in his office for a whole Saturday from morning till night. He was literally opening my brain and pouring everything that I needed to know in my head. We're going through case studies, doing a lot of analysis. As though that was not enough, I went to another organization that was similar to the organization I was working with, and I spoke with the GM for that unit that I was, looking to join. And I didn't know him. I just sent him an email to say, and that's to show you how desperate I was. I didn't really need to. I just sent him an email and said, look, I have this interview. I believe that a lunch date with you will give me a lot of insight into preparing for this interview. And lo and behold, yes, he granted me the audience and told me to come to his office. And for a 45 minutes lunch break, he was telling me so much. So by the time I had finished preparing, my head was, I was almost an expert. And then I went for the interview. And then feedback time came. And guess what I was told? Now, first things first, all the people that helped me in the process of preparing for the interviews were men. They were all men, from the mentor who spent a whole day teaching me to the senior leader who spent time, giving me audience and putting me through, to all the people who gave me resources to prepare for this. And I was prepared. They were all men. And then interview session came. I knew I smashed that interview. And then time for feedback. And then I was in HR. So, I kind of had my ways around. Getting feedback before the feedback. But generally, the feedback was, you were the best in the interview. But because they had been preparing somebody for that role, they won't give you that role. And the person who was behind all of this machinery, for lack of better words, was a woman. And then in my mind, I was like, yes, this is what they had been speaking about. Right? You finally have your own full taste, full dose of the PhD syndrome. I was angry. I was sad. I was sad because, I had staked my integrity with all the people I had rallied around to prepare me for this interview. And me not getting the role, in as much as, it was something I didn't, that hurt me. But I think what hurt me the most was a kind of like shame that despite all this investment that this man put into me, I couldn't get the role. I really felt ashamed. And so that pained me a lot. Now, why do I share the story? I'm sharing the story because these things exist. These things are real. Anytime I gather around women and, I ask them for, to just share their stories, you hear so many stories of how women have been impacted by this. So I didn't ask myself, is it that we women we are naturally just not good? But no, so many things, come together, come into play into how women who act in certain ways do it. Now, I'm not holding grief for them, but you just need to understand that as women, we pack in so many things together. So sometimes when we are making decisions, we are making decisions based on emotions. We are not conscious of what we're doing, and we're not particularly conscious of the impact of the actions that we take on how it affects other women and how it affects their careers. That's my own explanation. And I've seen it a lot, right? And I'll explain to you why that is my explanation and why I think that is right. I mean, many people will disagree with me to say, no, some women are just wicked, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I agree with you. But everything has to do with experience, it has to do with emotions, and it has to do with exposure. Those are the three key things. The experience that some women have just had from some really, really bad experience. So they feel justified that, look, I'm going to transfer and I'm going to make sure that other women to go through what I've gone through. I'm sure you've heard that once. Um, and then, so that's the experience. You have the emotions. I mean, we are women. We know these things, right? High 1 minute, low next minute. We know how emotions come to play. And then the exposure. I tell people, if you have not experienced great allyship, you cannot give it. You can only give it when you have received it from people or when you have seen it in play, then you can give it. So, putting into consideration all of these things, how can we as women build allyship? It's by using our deliberate privilege, our resources, and our platforms to do three key things. Listen to. We need to listen to other women when they're talking. What are they saying? Most importantly, what are they not saying? We need to amplify. When you see someone doing great stuff, amplify their work. I'll talk about this in later slides, but I just wanted to build context and then stand up for other women. Those are the three key things, three key ways in which you can be a great ally. Listen to, amplify, and stand up for. So now that we've just unburdened what or unpacked what allyship is, let's go on to now then begin to look at how can you begin to be and nurture, right, great allyship. And the first thing is connect. And I start with a quote by a woman I love so much, so much. And she says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but no one will ever forget how you made them feel. In becoming a great ally, you need to be deliberate about ensuring that you leave whoever it is that you're working with better than you met them. So, in becoming a great ally, there are three key things, especially when looking at connecting. The first is connect with a purpose. Now, one of the many reasons why I see that we are not building great ally is that the first thing is that we don't have a sense of identity. When I speak with my coaching, with the people that I coach, right, I always tell them the first and the fundamental thing to anything you're going to become in life, to building, even in this context, great allyship, is understanding your identity. Who are you? And by saying who are you, I'm not talking about what's your position, or who are you as an individual? What do you stand for? Where are you going? And what do you need to be to get to where you want to go to? And most importantly, who do you need to bring on the journey? See, if you have this clarity, right? If I have a clarity that this is who I am, this is where I am going, this is who I need to be, there will be no envy that another woman is doing something else. I will not have any issue helping other women because I know my own journey is clear cut. I have clarity. And unfortunately, I see that a lot of people, men and women alike, do not have that kind of clarity of who they are, where they are going to, what they need to be, and particularly who they need to bring on that journey. Now, without that clarity, you would always live a suboptimal life. And because you live a suboptimal life, those sense of insecurity, inferiority, all those negative emotions will begin to kick in, will begin to tweak on you, will begin to come in. I mean, they'll creep up in ways that you will never expect. So having a clear understanding of who you are, what your identity is, what your purpose is the fundamental. Now, with that in mind, then you cannot connect with empathy, right? Because you know that you're on a journey. You're willing to help other people on their own journey. I am one woman that has an army of allies, and it's one thing I'm forever grateful. I have women who would move heaven and earth for me. And sometimes I wonder, what exactly did I do? Right? So, but it comes from you understanding who you are. I mean, that identity and purpose then is so key, because then you can also help other people, right? And but I always say, before you can connect with empathy, the first thing you need to do is to detox. We are African women, and we know that we have gone through a lot of experiences, many of them negative, many of them painful, and sometimes, and that's what you see, manifest in the work, in careers and in the workforce, where you see women who just, I mean, they've had negative experiences, and for whatever reasons, they feel that they want to, push it on. Maybe that's their own coping mechanism. So the first thing as an individual, and I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, is to detox, is to first identify this baggage. I mean, imagine, let me paint a picture so we understand why it is important to detox. Imagine you just moving around the streets of Lagos with this garbage truck, Imagine you just pushing it around. What do you think will happen? People will be running away from you. So that's what happened when we allow all our negative experience and we carry it all around us. That's the kind of scenario it paints, right? When you do that. So the first thing you need to do is to detox. And detox can mean different things. But the key point to note is you need to identify what those baggages are, and then you need to look for ways to ensure that you get rid of them, right? And now when you are free from them, you cannot, okay, when you're free from those baggages, you can now actively then begin to listen to other people. You can begin to, so when people speak, you will hear what they are saying. You will not make assumptions, or you will not make, sometimes, we have vivid imaginations. Someone is saying something, but we are imagining another thing. That usually happens because we have a lot packed in. So when we detox, we'll be able to hear what women are saying clearly, and we'll be able to see, most importantly, hear what they are not saying, and see how we can really empathize with them. And then the last point under connecting with empathy is what I call a bar. For people, like, if you like a bar like me, I like a bar, right? It's called emotional bank account, right? And I learned this from a great man, Cosmos Maduka. And this was when I was in the university, my final year. I remember he came to University of Lagos, and then he talked about a bar. And since then, more than 2 decades after, I would never forget. And it's just building emotional bank accounts, right? You have to be deliberate about nurturing, and it's just like, your financial account, right? If your bank account, you can't withdraw what you don't have. You need to make deposits, constant deposits into the lives and into the emotions of other people. Remember, I started with Maya Angelou's, quote. It's not what you said. It's not, um, what you've done, but it's how you make them feel. People are emotional beings, and people make decisions from a place of emotion. So you need to always drop those emotional petals, I mean, value petals, as I call them, into the lives of people. But most importantly, yeah, unfortunately, the difference between emotional bank accounts and financial bank accounts. For financial bank accounts, it is where you deposited that you would withdraw, right? For emotional bank accounts, you are going to deposit, but most likely you will reap from somewhere else, or you will collect it, or you draw on it from somewhere else. So always be intentional about dropping, deposits into the emotional bank accounts of as many people as you can. And then the last point is connect with creativity, right? Being an ally doesn't have to be the big things that we know. It can be little, those little things that count. It can be just helping someone with a post. It can be having or giving a very constructive feedback. It might just even be, I have a friend that, when you're in crisis, She'll be there for you, but she doesn't see anything. She'll just sit down there with you, right? But so it can be those little things, right? It does not have to be big. But what you need to do is to always look, look with empathy to say, what does this person, how can I, it's a deliberate act, it's a deliberate mindset to say, I want to be this. Now, when you make that deliberate and conscious mindset that I want to be an ally, I want to support women, I want to be this, then you'll begin to see those little creative ways in which you can, speak for people, advocate for people, or support the work that they do. Right? And I talk, emotional bank, having emotional bank is also synonymous with, or is similar. It's different, but similar to value petals. What are value petals? And that's my definition. It's value petals are those little bits, little chunks of value that you add everywhere you go. Be a person of value. When you're having conversations with people, show value. When you're interacting with people, show value. When you're discussing with people, show value. When you're in a meeting, add value to that meeting. Anywhere you are, add value to people. You see, those value petals will speak for you when it is time. And then having a long-term mindset, right? When you're walking this allyship, and now allyship is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, right? It's a things that you do in the day to day. Your day to day. You're going in and going out. What are those things that you do on a daily basis, right? So, but in the day to day, you also need to have a long term mindset to say, how how will this play out in the long term for this person or for this people or in for me as a person, right? So in becoming a great ally, let's not forget the three key points: connect with purpose. And in connecting with purpose, it has two key things: your identity and your vision, and your purpose, where you're going, your identity and your purpose. In connecting with empathy, it's important that you detox, and then you listen actively and make deposits into the emotional bank accounts of people, of women, right? People generally. And then connect with creativity. It doesn't have to be the big things. Yes, do the big things when you can, but when you cannot do those big things, also look for those little things. Look for the value petals and be long-term minded in that. And then cultivate, the second point. Let's start with a quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? And she says, you need to fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you, right? Being a great ally is not the ultimate. Attracting great allyship is what makes magic. I said it earlier that, I have an army of allies, right? So I can't even count. One of the things I wanted to do, to make this a bit personal, was to showcase some women who are great allies in my life. But then I realized that I definitely cannot showcase all of them, and I'm going to miss out some of them, so I'm not going to show. But I have so many people who speak for me and who supports me. And that's actually what has made me who I am today and what I am today. Everything has been because of my social network. At some point, I said I'm going to write a book on social capital because, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with social capital. Guess what? In the day we live in, social capital is much more important than financial capital, I dare say. So you need to be deliberate about nurturing and attracting great allyship. You need to be deliberate about building your social capital. You need to be deliberate about building your network. As they say, your network is your net worth. It's not cliche. But if I use Nigerian balance, now who no be waiting We all know that this is true. It's who you know. Let's give an example. I'm here today, right? I have the privilege of having this conversation with, great women here because someone knows me, that, reached out to me and said, oh, Shay, this tribe, this fantastic network, they want to speak with you. Now, most likely without that person who knows me, I probably would not be here right today having this conversation with you. So it's important that you build your network, and you have to be intentional about building your network. And yet again, I'm going to talk about three key things that you need when, for you to attract great allyship. And the first thing is personal branding. I cannot talk about this enough. Now, one of the things that I do, which I was forced to do because I saw the number of women who don't really understand this, is I coach women, senior leaders, on personal branding. And I started doing that because I saw that a lot of women made the mistake that I made in my career. For me, I just wanted to do a good job. I really did not give a hoot what anyone thought about me. I was not deliberate about shaping the mindset or the perception that people had about me. I I couldn't be bothered. I just wanted to do a good job. And for me, as long as you acknowledge that, oh, she is the next best thing after God when it comes to her work, then I'm fine. But that's not it. We need to be deliberate about building a personal brand. And in this world that we live in, you need to be deliberate about building your digital personal brand. It's so key. I mean, I don't want to talk about this. Because we'll just be talking about it, but you need to build your digital personal brand. But much more importantly, you need to build your in-person brand. What do people experience when they come in contact with you? What do people experience when they experience the you that is not online? And the reason why I'm emphasizing on that is because a lot of people, it's LinkedIn there, and I make a lot of great connections on LinkedIn. But then when I meet them in person, I'm like, okay, what happened? The value that I see online is not the value that I'm getting, or the persona that I see online is not the persona that I'm seeing in real life. And that then begins to create issues for you. So your personal branding has to be authentic, integrate, and ensure that whatever people see online is the real you. And if the real you doesn't match who you really want to portray to be, spend a lot of time working on you to become who you want to be and who you want to showcase to others that you are. So personal branding is important. And now my next favorite one, communities and networks. You see, you are blessed to be in a community such as the Power Women Network. The power of networks is and communities such as this is invaluable. In fact, I can tell you that members of being a member of a network or of different networks has been a key enabler in my journey, especially my journey in building Paywen. And let me talk about that story for a while, so that it's not just going to be all just teaching, teaching, teaching. So I was part of this network, and we had a conference in Tanzania. No. I applied for a fellowship. It had not become a network. I applied for a fellowship, and part of the fellowship was there was a conference in Tanzania. So I went to Tanzania. Now, for people who do not know, and for everyone that cares to listen, I am an introverted introvert. Those who know me would know that, look, SKP can be in our house for 3 years. I will not feel that there's anything I miss. Yes, I am such an introvert. And you say, oh no, you do a lot of public speaking. Yes, that is work. When I come, my work persona is different from my personal persona. I just want to be on my bed. I just want to sleep. I want to be alone. Right. So I went for the conference, and conference finished, and yet I was tired. You know how conferences can be. I just wanted to go to my hotel room and sleep. And then something just spoke to me. You slept, or the sleep that you did not sleep in Lagos. You've come to Tanzania again. You want to sleep. Sure. I said it in Yoruba to myself. Sure, for share me, you know. So I went to my hotel room. I decided that, you know what, for the first time ever, I'm going to come out of my shell, and I'm going to network with people. And then so I went to my hotel room, took a shower, dressed up, So it wasn't like there wasn't even no the conference had finished. There was no networking event or anything. And I just said I would just be walking down the because I mean the conference had built um they had shut down that hotel. They had, what's the word? They had booked the entire hotel. So everyone in the hotel was for the conference. So I like I'll just be walking down this. And anywhere where I see people talking, I'm just going to go inside and and don't just put my mouth like they say. And that's what I did. I mean, I heard some voices in the room. When I just went in and I introduced myself, it felt very awkward because that's not me. I mean, I'm very shy, right? And then we just started gisting, and then we are just talking. And before we knew it, we were talking. This was like around 9. We were talking late into the night. And when it was past 12, I said, "Ah, you people, we've tried. Let's go." So I then left there, and I went, to back to my room, and then many months later, we decided to connect back in Lagos, right? And then we had the dinner, and it was at that dinner, and I'm never going to forget. We had a dinner. I think this was sometime just 4 of us. So the 4 of us that were in that room, just in. It's not a formal, and it's not anything formal. We went to Cactus. I'll never forget. And this was in December 2019. I'll never forget. And we just sat down, and then we were. Was it December? Yeah, either December 29th, either last week in December or first week in January. And then we're just gisting. And then when we're gisting, one of the ladies just said, "Oh, ladies, let's not just come and gist. You, what's your goal for 2020? You, what?" And then the 4 of us started sharing. And I had 2 ideas. I had 2 things. I was in a transition phase in my life at that point. And I had 2 things I wanted to pursue. And then I shared the first one, which was what I wanted to do. I mean, I've been in HR for most part of my life. So that idea was all about HR. I wanted to have digital HR conferences, global, bring in the best people. The way they look down on you, I say it's because you people are not in HR. You don't understand. HR people will. They say, "Oh yeah, what's the second thing that you want and what you wanted to share with us?" And then I shared the vision for Paywin. I said, "Look, this is something I've always wanted to do, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it now. But it's something I'm going to do before I retire." And then, no, tell us about it. And then I started telling them about it. You see, by the time we finished from that dinner, right, the enthusiasm and the ideas and the support and there and then they were making phone calls. They were saying, "No, you can do this. This is what, let me connect you with this person." Honestly, that's how Payment started. And they were with me all the way. In short, there's a particular lady who till date, I call her my Harvard Brain sister, Tubosu Afolayan. She has been with me. Anytime I need anything, I just call her, "Babe, this is the challenge that I'm facing." And before you know it, she's calling one person, she's calling another person. She's like, "Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that?" Sometimes she just call me, "Mama Pwen, how's Pwen going? But I had this idea. Do you know you can do this?" Right? We need to be deliberate about one, being in networks and communities. And there's another network I joined, which I'll never even forget. I always tell people I paid $1,000. I'll never forget to join that community. And it wasn't I didn't get the financial because it was like an investment club and all of that. I didn't get the financial reward I was looking for. I should have actually lost a whole lot of money. I mean, so much money. I lost so much money. But guess what? I gained a friend who till today is such a supportive, when you say somebody is your support system. She's the only one that I know that will send a message to at 1 a.m. in the morning and say, "Sis, what do you think?" If she's asleep, immediately she wakes up, she's responding. She is so supportive, it's unbelievable. In short, as I speak, I remember that when I woke up from the bed this morning, I saw a message from her asking me, "Oh, she gave me 4 things that Paywen needs." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get back to you on that." She's that supportive that no day goes by without me speaking with her. That's the power of being involved in communities. That's the power of being involved in networks. But more importantly, it's not just being a member or being a part of the Power Women Network. The question is, are you visible? Do people know you in the community, in the network? Do people know you in the community? When activities are taking place, do you show up? It's not just being in the network. You've got to show up. I mean, there's a program that we run for aspiring women who want to, it's called On Board High. It's a board readiness program. And yeah, application closes, I think, either tomorrow or in a few days' time. Anyone who's interested can join. It's for women who are looking to get into their first board roles. And I was going through the list, a few days ago, and I just realized that there's some people that I can't ever remember hearing their voice in any session. I'm always in all sessions because yes, I mean it's a very senior. It's for women in senior management and C-suite. And I'm like, I can't remember ever even. I don't even know what her face looks like, right? So the question is, show up, be visible. Don't just be in networks. Show up and be visible. And then finally, I believe that my time is up. Um, when you don't receive allyship, what do you do? And I've taken this quote from someone I love so much, Michelle Obama. When they go low, you go high. When you don't receive allyship, first and foremost, understand that it's not personal. Neither is it about you, right? It's never personal. I talked about the lady whom I received, my first dose of PhD from. Today, she's my mentor. The first thing I did was to ensure that, I forgave her. I had to deal with a lot of internal things to make myself understand that, look, you've got to just forgive her. And then many years later, I then understood what happened. And I then realized that it was never personal. It was never about you, right? So when you don't receive it, just know it's not personal. It's not about you. Second thing I want to point out here is that I always tell people that work with me, whatever you reap, you will sow. But you will not reap, you will not sow where you reap. I mean, you will not reap where you have sown. That I have done something for Rama does not mean I will get it from Rama. You will get it from somewhere else. So we need to be very deliberate and know that. Don't say, "Oh, I did this from her." In short, most times, you will never reap where you have sown. That's the way it works. But sow it anyway because you will get it somewhere else. And finally, focus on the war, not the battle. Now, what is a war? What is a battle? Your war is your long-term vision, your long-term goals. Well, and that's why I started with, you need to have a sense of identity. What's that vision for yourself? When you die and they're reading your biography, I mean, Herbert Wick died lately. You heard what people were talking about him. So the question I always ask people that, I coach is, when you die, what do you want people to say about you? Focus on that. Don't focus on the small little things, and the issues that happen. That's what I call the battles, right? Or those incidences, those are battles. And always focus on the war, and never ever win the battle at the expense of the war. Sometimes you just allow yourself to lose the battle because you're focused on your war. Winning the war is more important than winning the battle. Never ever forget that. And so in closing, two things I want to talk about. True allyship. True allyship is characterized by ongoing learning and reflection. You have to be, like I said, it's a journey, right? So you have to constantly learn, and you need to ensure that, it's a continuous commitment to being part of the solution. If we say there's no inclusivity for women, you need to be part of the solution into fostering inclusive environments and working towards ensuring that there's systemic change, particularly in Nigeria. And effective allyship is, at the core of effective allyship is humility. You really need to be humble, right? You need to be willing to make mistakes and learn from them. And most importantly, also admitting that, look, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. Humility is key to effective allyship, right? And then with that, I'd like to say thank you for listening to me. I love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So this is my LinkedIn handle. You can just always connect with me. You can send me an email. That's my email address, and that's Paywen's website. So I'd like to say thank you for listening to this, my long talk. I'm willing to take questions and perhaps prefer some answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful presentation. I had to, I was just writing and writing and writing, and it was so good. I think the place for me was when you said you can't give what you don't have. So for some women, they cannot give allyship because they've not received it. And that is really deep because you can't pour from an empty cup, and that's so good. I have some questions for you, but that will be during the panel session. But right about now, we'll be moving on to the second speaker for the day, and that is no other person other than Lara Yeko. She will be talking to us about cultural diversity in the workplace.
Omolara Yeko is a global HR leader, executive coach, mentor, international speaker, design thinking expert, and author who is well recognized for her immense innovative contributions to the current trends and practices in the evolution of human resources management in Nigeria. Lara is currently a divisional director and is head of HR Food Division at Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. As a highly respected HR thought leader, she has won several awards, including 2019 Talent Management Strategist, 100 Women B2B Thought Leadership, and second LinkedIn Top 10 Women Thought Leaders to follow in 2020. 40 HR Leaders in 2022 to follow in Nigeria by Purple Hum. She is a member of the International Coaching Federation ICF USA and a Strength Corp with Gallup Strength Incorporation USA. Recently completed an executive education with Yale School of Management. She is the founder of HR Gems Network, a community of professionals with a common goal to be positive change agents, and the author of the innovative storytelling and mentoring book, My HR Storybook. She is happily married and blessed with 3 children. She loves to dance and find fulfillment in impacting lives positively. Welcome, Omolara Yeko.
Such a beautiful profile. We just wait a little bit for Lara to join. Hi, can you hear me? You're welcome.
Yes, loud and clear. Can you hear me as well?
Okay, that's good. So you have the stage. Kind of go ahead.
Thank you so much, Rama. Hello, everyone.
You're
Good
welcome.
afternoon. Trust everyone is keeping well. It was really so beautiful listening to Oluwaseyi speak. I had smiles on my face throughout, throughout as she was speaking. Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi, for that amazing and impactful session. I'd like to start by appreciating the entire Power Women Network. It's feels so great and awesome to come back again to share and to learn. It's really been beautiful. We thank God for life. Thank you so much. And I do believe everyone is keeping well. So today, I don't have any PowerPoint presentation because I want it to be conversational. And I want to speak from the depth of my soul and my heart with regards to the topic this morning, which is cultural diversity in the workplace. And I do believe that at the end of my 30-minute session, we would have learned one or two things, and then we can take the conversation forward. And I'm really going to be key whatever I'm saying to some of the amazing points that Oluwaseyi had shared earlier on allyship. Honestly, it really helped me to be able to, it will really help me to be able to bring home some of the points that I'm going to be talking about today. So let's get into it. It's such an honor to be here once again. Me, as a society, the world continues to evolve. And right now, for those of us in the workplace, we have about 4 or 5 generations in the workplace. And when we talk about cultural diversity, businesses continue to expand across borders with the composition of diverse generation, in the workplace. And this, the diversity also brings with it its own wealth of perspectives, experiences. When Oluwaseyi was talking earlier, she was talking about women. As she mentioned, for every woman that we interact with, she's been shaped by our experience, our exposure, our education. So in all honesty, when we talk about diverse culture in the workplace, the diversity that people experience is being shaped by experiences, by people's exposure, right? By several other things, which we'll talk about later on. So when we talk about cultural diversity in the workplace, really, it doesn't just encompasses the differences in ethnicity, race, or nationality, but also other variations that spans across gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability, and the likes. But for me, it's more around the diversity in their own view about life and how that brings so much creativity and innovation in helping shape how we solve problems. So I'm going to be talking more in terms of when we say diversity in the workplace. I did mention earlier that today we have about 5 generations in the workplace. And I'll use my organization as an example where I work. Um, so my organization has been existing for 64 years, will be 64 years this year. And we do have 5 generations. So we have the people who are the veterans in the organization. Some are retired. Most of them are retired actually. But I also like to say that as long as we have veterans on the board of organizations, they are part of that organization, even though they might not be involved in the day-to-day activity of the organization. But as veterans on the board, they are aware, they also make decisions that impact that organization. So they also have their own wealth of experience. For those that are still in the organization before retirement, they are known for their loyalty to the business. In my organization, every year when we do our retirement party, it's always very emotional. It is very emotional because you see people retiring, and when they talk about how they have given their youthful age to the organization, and for them, beyond just giving their youthful age to the organization, it's also what they see. They've seen the organization grow over the years. So sometimes people spend certain periods of years within an organization, and you feel, oh, that was a waste. No, for every time you stay in an organization, you've contributed to the growth of that organization. And for them, those who retire, there's always this joy and fulfillment that they give when they give their speeches by saying, wow, I've contributed to this company. It gives me so much joy to be able to pass on the baton now to younger generation. So they also have their own, they have their own importance in the organization. And we have the baby boomer generation, people who are known to be dedicated to work. They have the ability to forge their career. They have the ability to commit intensely in the organization. And then we have the Generation X, the people who are more open-minded, right? More open-minded, a lot more competitive in the organization. And they are the ones who appreciate diversity. Then we have the Generation Y, the millennials, the people who bring a lot of mobility and social awareness into the organization. People who, when you keep them too much on a role for too long, they begin to feel restless. So you have to continue to engage them and continue to give them an opportunity to be challenged and stretched in the workplace. Then we have the Gen Zs, the digital natives, the people who are currently under 24 years old, who are very digitally savvy and that's why sometimes you wonder, oh, you give a young child, right, a phone, and before you know they're able to navigate through. So all of this various generation bring to the workplace their own wealth of being, their own uniqueness in the workplace. I remember going to speak at an organization, and somebody was complaining about her inability to accept an intern working in the organization just because he has dreads, right? And for her, there's just this air of, oh, I can't. When you have dreads, her interpretation of dreads is you're unkempt, you're untidy, you don't have clean shave and the likes. So she opened up and said she was actually struggling in terms of accepting that intern, you know, within our team as a critical team member. So what I want to say is, with our diverse background, with our diverse way of working, yes, people tend to have their own biases, which impacts affects and influences how they relate and how they connect with people. But having said that, I just want to establish the reality when it comes to cultural diversity in the workplace. But I would like to take it further, and let's talk about what can we start doing differently? What can we start doing differently? And how can we use the power of diversity as a thread of togetherness, weaving an inclusive future? And that starts with you, that starts with me. First, for me, harnessing the power of cultural diversity in the workplace starts first with identity. And I'm going to be keying what I'm going to say with what Oluseyi said so that it can help us bring it home and bring it to life. When you work in an organization where you have your identity, you know your identity, you know who you are, you're authentic, people experience you the same way. What that does is that begins to give you that clarity in terms of who you are. And when your identity, your identity begins, when you're clear on your identity, you would realize that it gives you more understanding, and then you judge less. People judge other people because, let me explain this, because we are emotional beings, and we rationalize things. So when you see something, the interpretation you give to that thing is based on your lens view. What do I mean? Somebody would see a problem and typically will complain and blame every other person. Meanwhile, somebody else will see a problem, that same problem, and will think, what can we do differently? How can I, and will see opportunity in that thing. Or what can I do differently? How can I make meaning out of this? How can I turn this into an opportunity? Same problem, but the difference is the interpretation that people give things. So when you are clear in who you are, what you are about, where you're going, it would shape how you interpret things, and then you judge less because you know where you're going. Like Oluwaseyi said earlier when she talked about, when you know who you are, then there will be less envy. And honestly, that is absolutely spot on. When each one of us are clear on our identity, then we embrace our uniqueness and the uniqueness of people, of others. We embrace other people more. So, clear identity helps us to embrace diversity, helps us to understand other people, helps us to know this person is on their own journey, I am on my own journey. So, the power of identity does help. The second step is acceptance. When people don't accept their reality, then they begin to judge and look for means to navigate through. For instance, going back to the story of the lady who said she was finding it very difficult to accept an intern, to work in her team just because he has dreads, because of our own, just because of our own interpretation. The truth is, he's an intern. You need to accept that he's come to learn. Because he has come to learn, you have to drop all your biases away and then focus on the purpose for him being in your team, which is to learn and for you to groom and grow him. But if you do not accept it and then you're still focused or you're still carried away by his looks or his mannerism and the likes, but not from the place of love, then that affects how we treat one another in the workplace. Acceptance is love. So when I talk about love, yes, love is critical in the workplace. And for me, love is being kind at heart. When you are kind at heart, you accept people for who they are. You accept their imperfection. You accept their story. You accept them in the light of how can I help this person? So it's going to be focused on how can I help this person? And it's not going to be, oh, please just keep that person. That's who she is, that's who he is, and the likes. But acceptance helps us to see how we can help and support people with the knowing and the knowledge that this person would be impacted by me. So acceptance really is critical. Let's accept that people are different. I have three kids, three daughters, and the honest truth, they're all different. But we all know that people are different. A lot of times, because we see people from our own lens, we want people to be like us. When we want people to change, we want people to change except us. I remember a couple of months back, so I have a mentee who had come to complain about her, her boss. She's this, she's that, in my organization. She's this, she's that. She complained bitterly about her boss. When she finished, I counseled her. I said, okay, I've heard. Then a couple of months later, she came back and said, wow, thank you so much. My boss has changed. My boss is this. My boss, thank you for speaking to my boss. And I'm like, really? I didn't speak to your boss. She's like, you didn't speak to my boss? I said, no, I didn't speak to my boss. I spoke to you. I spoke to you instead. Like, oh, wow. And that's when it dawned on her that indeed the boss didn't change. What changed was she was the one that changed. And because she learned to better understand her boss, she learned to also see things from the perspective of positivity, not negativity, and from the perspective of learning, right? And that was what changed it for her. So acceptance really helps us to further tighten the thread of togetherness as we all collectively work towards creating an inclusive future. The fourth point is empathy. I won't dwell a lot on that because Oluwase did a tremendous job talking about the importance of empathy to connect and create allyship. Need not say more. That is it. Empathy helps us to see things differently from the view lens of the other person. So here, what are they hearing? What are they saying? Putting yourself in their shoes. And what that does is it helps us to create more connection with people. When you connect more with people, you are able to tap into their wealth and richness of their diversity. Imagine working in an organization where you have 4, 5 generation, like I said, and when you create a committee, and in that committee you have representatives of the different generation, it's always phenomenal. The level of creativity, the level of detail, the level of togetherness, the outcome is always phenomenal. everybody has got something to bring to the table. Oluwaseyi talked about value petals. Imagine diverse people dropping petals with beautiful colors on a daily basis. So not just the same petal, the same color. Let's assume one person just brings only purple petal, only, and you're seeing only purple every day. Purple, 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 purple. The world is going to be boring. But by the time you see diverse value from diverse background, from diverse nationality, from diverse experience, you're seeing purple, you're seeing gold, you're seeing white, and seeing silver. At the end of the day, the outcome is a whole lot more beautiful. So empathy really, really is important. The fourth point around what we need to start doing differently in driving more cultural diversity in the workplace, for me, is connection, creating connection. Oluwaseyi did mention that, so I'm going to just skip that point as well. Creating connection. When you connect more with people, you're able to influence. You're able to get the best out of them. You're able to you're able to get more realistic, powerful contributions from them. For me, I think one of the key things that drives connection is purpose. Oluwaseyi did mention that. For every relationship you have with people, you have to be clear what's the purpose of this relationship. If it is, because she spoke so much about our ally, and honestly, when you create a relationship with purpose, there's more meaning that you get out of that relationship, even if it's work relationship across. And we're in a borderless world now where you are in one location, you have diverse colleagues from around the world. Your ability to create connection and understand, see things from their perspective, accept them, would help you create better connection with people. And that is really, really important. The next point for me, which I'd like to share this morning, is having a bigger goal. When you have a bigger goal you're working towards, when you have a bigger goal you're working towards, then that relationship becomes a lot more impactful. Then your sense of tapping into the diversity of the different culture that you have, of the different demography that you're experiencing. When the goal is clear, then the process and the journey becomes more enjoyable. When your goal is, we need to create and arrive or achieve this, then that way you're clear what is required for us to achieve this goal. When you're creating the activities, the process, the system that is required to achieve the goal, then you're able to leverage and tap into the uniqueness of everyone. One powerful way of getting the best out of people in achieving high performance in the workplace is understanding their areas of strength. When I was working at Accenture a couple of years back, as far back as 2016, Accenture changed its performance management process to performance achievement process. The performance achievement process was focused more on strengths, which is where I got my strengths cup from, on the Gallup strengths. When you begin to relate with people from their place of strength, the output is a whole lot incremental. You are in a team and you have different people in your team, and you understand the strengths of every person. The one who is good in PowerPoint, you know their strengths around creativity. The one who is good in communication, you know their strengths around, stakeholders engagement, communicating, being able to tell a better and more powerful story. The one who is that introvert, who would stay late to ensure everybody everybody is on track of their project or on track of their activities, is the person who coordinates. At the end of the day, as a team lead, You are not comparing people and creating unnecessary competition, but rather you're leveraging and you're buttressing and harnessing their strengths, even though the team is diverse. It's more powerful and it helps us to further tighten that thread of togetherness. So, understanding the goal and leveraging on the strengths of the diverse team that you have really do help in creating greater outcome. I like to talk about what if someone's strength, or I don't want to use the word strength. What if you observe that somebody can be extremely excessive? Because I really want us to get very practical. Someone can be extremely excessive, and because they're extremely excessive, it comes across as not right. Let me give you an example. You're somebody who enjoys to talk. You communicate very well. And because you are a talker, when you are in meetings or groups or gathering, you can talk on and on and on. And in the process of talking, which is your area of comfort, which is your strength, you talk over people, you interject. You're just talking, you're talking, talking. You know? So what do you do in such an instance? Very easy. Remember, I said from a place of acceptance and love. Such people might not be aware because sometimes our strengths can become an area of weakness when it's extremely excessive. Such people, from a place of empathy, you have to give them feedback and let them get them in a state of self awareness. As a coach as well, when you want to coach people, a lot of people are just not aware, they can't see. And as a coach, you are a partner in helping them see to understand so that they can profile their own solution. So some people who can be excessive in posing their strengths might not be aware, and that's the honest truth. So, but from a place of love and constructive feedback, you can engage them. Say, oh, yes, okay. And there's a way you also give your feedback. Oh, you talk so well, you're so eloquent, you're fantastic. I always enjoy speaking with you. However, because you enjoy talking, you're so passionate when you talk, you tend to talk over people. I think you might need to pay some attention to that. And because you talk so much, which is good, sometimes you don't listen. You're not able to, you know, hear or understand what other people are saying. So from a place of empathy, you can give constructive feedback because really, truly, sometimes strengths can be excessive. And then people begin to label you, oh, our own is too much, your own is too much. And maybe when people begin to label you, your own is too much, our own is too much, then people will not have the opportunity to maximize the diverse strengths that they need to get from you. Okay. So my next point will be on innovation and creative problem solving. When we embrace diversity in the workplace, we're able to give room for diverse perspective. We're able to give room for diverse views. We're able to give room for diverse way of solving that problem. I remember a couple of years back, we're trying to fix something in my house. Myself and my husband were actually struggling. We're really struggling to fix the item. Then my daughter just walked past. I think she was 7 or 8 at that time. Just walked past, looked at us. Daddy and mommy, what are you doing? I said, oh, we're trying to fix this. So, okay. Can I help you? That's what my daughter said. Can I help you? So why not? Sure. She looked at it and she was fiddling with whatever we're trying to fix. And in less than 5 minutes, whoop, she's fixed it. And I and my husband, we've been on this thing for almost 20 minutes. And then we laughed at ourselves, but because she came from a different perspective and she was just able to just get it sorted. And then she walked away, go, 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 like nothing happened. I'm like, how did you do that? How did you do that? So when we give room for diversity in the workplace, even at home, in our communities, it helps to solve problems more creative and more innovative way. And then ideas would come, you know, ideas and different perspective on what we can do differently, what we can do better, and the likes. So it helps us to drive innovation and creative problem solving. My last point, as Rama comes up to let me know that my time is up, is the power of collaboration. The exponential power of collaboration can be harnessed with diversity. And I think I would just like to build further on Oluwase's earlier point when she talked about community and networking. It's really powerful. I got my current role as head of HR at Flower Mills. I didn't apply. I was in a community in a WhatsApp group. I was in a WhatsApp group just giving value, dropping my thoughts and the likes. And in that group, as the group director of Flower Mills, we invited me out for lunch. Then he had become the president of CIPM. So I volunteered. I went to him. I said, "So I'm here to volunteer to support your leadership as the CIPM president." So it's okay. Out of okay, this young lady, okay, let's have lunch, which we did. And from a place of service, he said, "Okay, I have a role. I will invite you." I'm like, "Sir, I did not apply for this role. I want to serve, volunteer to help." He said, "No, no, no. I wanted to help out of work, but eventually got work." And when I asked, "Why do you think you want me to work with your organization?" He said, "I've seen your contributions in some of the groups that I belong to, very valuable contribution. And you're someone I would like to work with." And very recently, a young mentee of mine got a job without being interviewed, just because he's been in all these communities giving value. So for those silent WhatsApp group members out there, you might just be losing out on an opportunity to bring value or give value in those groups where other people can get to know you better, where other people can get to receive your value petals, just like Oluwaseyi said. And that way you just can't tell how can't tell who will be benefiting from your diverse strengths and value. So I just wanted to encourage every one of us. Let's embrace being in communities. Let's make those communities valuable. And for me, that's the first show of accepting diversity. When you are in groups, do we check on one another? Do we reach out to one another in those groups? Do we empower one another in those groups, or we form cliques in those groups? So when we talk about trade-off togetherness, I think for us, the onus lies on us on a daily basis to be intentional that wherever we find ourselves, online, offline, we embrace diversity, we accept diversity, we connect with diversity, we give empathy to allow diversity to thrive, because it's only then can we change the world and make the world a better place as we continue to create the thread of togetherness. It starts with you, it starts with me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so good. Really, really good. You know, there was a place you said something about people are emotional beings and they would judge things based on their perception to life. And that was really so great. Like, what somebody sees as a problem another person is just focused on the solution. And that's really so good. Thank you so much, Laura. I don't know if you can hear me. So while we wait for Oluwaseyi before we go into the panel session, I would like to just start with you so I could ask you questions. While we're waiting, but then I'm sure if you're not part of the community, please follow us on social media at Power Woman Net Community. I'm waiting for Oluwaseyi to join us. I'm waiting for Oluwaseyi, but know that you would not necessarily reap from where you have sown. So you might give to this person, and the person is not giving you, but you get it somewhere. Quite a number of people do not like to do. There's this thing of, I don't want them to use me. I don't want them to take advantage of me. I know it's okay. It's okay to have boundaries as humans. But then, how do you draw the line between being too careful? You don't want people to just get anything from you. But then, how do you draw the line between being too careful and not doing anything at all? Because the world will really be a better place where we become selfless. I know boundaries are important, but tell me, what are the benefits of volunteering and real life examples of how you are from a place of I want to add value, not because I want something in return. So that's the question for now.
I don't know if it's my network. I couldn't hear
Can
some
you
of
hear
what
me,
she
please?
said.
Not clearly,
Okay,
Rama.
okay.
You are
Laura,
breaking
can you
up.
hear me? Is it better now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, but
Not sometimes.
how about now? Is it better?
Okay. Yes, a lot better.
Okay, let me just turn off the camera and ask you the question one more time. So I said
Okay.
you mentioned volunteering earlier, and then Oluwaseyi said something related to that as well when she said you have to sow, and what you sow is what you will reap, but you might not reap where you have sown. So you might sow with Mr. A, and then Mr. B or Mrs. B or Miss B is the one who is giving you the outcome of what you've sown. So I asked a question saying that how do you, I don't want people to just take advantage of me. I want to add value. Yes, boundaries are important. What are the benefits of volunteering? And how do you draw the line? So I am volunteering. I want to add value, but I do not want to be taken for granted. So please shed some more light on this.
Okay, is that question for me or for
I
Lara?
was going to ask.
It
This
is
one
for
is
Lara
for
because
Lara.
she mentioned
Oh,
volunteering.
yeah.
Lara
Okay.
mentioned volunteering. So I am
No, I'm
asking her,
good.
say real life experiences of the outcome of volunteering. Yeah, because most people do not. Even though they want to volunteer, they are trying to say, I don't want you taking advantage of me. Give us, need to set limits because take us
Yeah.
really do. All those kind of narratives. So give just few, I mean, maybe two examples of the outcome of volunteering and how to draw the line. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Rama, for that amazing question. So, like I said earlier, I got my job, current role, just because I went out to volunteer. I went from a place of how can I support a leader to achieve his overall leadership mandate. And it was because I had a clear goal, I had the purpose. The intent was for me was let me just go give back to support a leader. And that was why I reached out in the first place. And from that point, based on interaction and the value that I'd given, the leader thought, wow, beyond just supporting my leadership mandate out of the workplace, I would like you to also come support my team in the organization. When we talk about volunteering, first and foremost, you have to have a clear purpose for reaching out to volunteer. And it has to come from a place of selfless service. So you're not volunteering just because you want to associate, post pictures, people would know I'm here, and then on field, in quotes, you're not doing anything, you're just posting pictures. Then the motive and the intent is wrong. When it comes to setting boundaries when you volunteer, so you're not taken advantage of. One, first and foremost, be very clear what you're going in for. If you're volunteering in an NGO, be clear what the terms of engagement would be. If you're volunteering in an organization, engage, ask questions so you are clear what is required of you, what are the things, what are the expectations, and the likes. So that way it helps you to know how to better manage yourself and manage your boundaries. When you're volunteering, communication is very important. So you're also not assuming that the other person should know. Because you're volunteering, you're not showing up. Because you're volunteering, you're not adequately engaging. Because you're volunteering, you're not following and not abiding by the rules and regulation of the terms of engagement or whatsoever it is. So it has to start with you first, being a person of right character and value. It has to start with you demonstrating the right behavior as well. So you're not taken for granted. But sometimes you volunteer in some places, and yes, they do want to overuse, if you understand what I mean, because you volunteer as an intern. You go and buy food, you go and buy bread, you go and buy everything, which is the reality. Look, actually, you're laughing, but that's the reality. The reality now. People take advantage of you because you are volunteering. For me, I think one, the communication is really important. So the interpretation you give to what is being assigned to you is important. What do I mean? So if you're asked to go and make photocopy, for instance, you're volunteering in an organization and they ask you to go and make photocopy. Photocopy is not about me photocopy. It's about, okay, is this document important for my organization, for my department, for my boss, for my manager, for my team? If the document is important, then I'm okay to run errands for them. If what you're being asked to do is outside the requirements of a job, one, out of respect, you can honor, for me first. I mean, as a Yoruba girl, you honor first you. Second is you talk about it. Okay, I'm sorry, I might not be able to do that. Or I'm sorry, I'm not aware I'm supposed to do that. I mean, there are tactical ways you can engage, communicate to create your boundaries. Don't be rude about it. Because by the time you're rude about it, you're making situations worse. But just engage in a respectful manner. Please, I appreciate, I would really love to, but right now I don't think that is part of what I should do. Or is do you have another option? Can we call a delivery company to, can we order instead of me to go and buy? So there has to be that tactical way to manage and communicate, and that way make your boundaries known. For some people at work, it could be closing time, it could be duration of work. Communicate in a respectful way and make your boundaries known. Don't suffer in silence. Don't accept what is demeaning you, if you understand what I mean. Communicate in a respectful way, make your boundaries clear. And of course, sometimes those things you undergo it for learning as well. So it's not all activity that you've been asked to do out of your current scope of work that is detrimental or demeaning. No. For some, it could also be a way to expand and stretch you and for you to learn. But overall, your mental health is important. If it's impacting you negatively, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically, please speak up. Thank you. Oluwaseyi has been smiling. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laura, for that. I like when you said if it's affecting you, then you should speak up. And I also like when you said communicate your message without being disrespectful, which is quite important because a lot of people today they've been misunderstood because they have the right intention, but they don't have the right delivery. So that's really beautiful. I like how you put everything together. So I would love to ask Oluwaseyi, you mentioned something that you can't give allyship when you have not received it because you can't give what you don't have. Then you went from there to talking about detox. So when we talk about detoxifying your system or your beliefs or your core values, how do we do it as women? Another
Hmm.
thing again is you mentioned that you have people you could talk to, like friends you could talk to, open up to. I mean, I always say like you can't be guiding for everybody, always guiding, always. There should be somebody that you're vulnerable with as a woman because that's what helps us. We are emotional being. But there's some women that'll say, no, 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 no. I'm hard. I like the way the world is going right now. Hard girl is not a sign of strength. Be soft, be vulnerable, be in your feminine zone. Yes, soft life. It's really quite important. So, how do you detox as a woman? And sometimes it is not your fault for not being able to, give allyship because you don't have it, like you rightly said. And sometimes it's because of where we're coming from, the background, the community we've been exposed to, and all of that. How do you detox in a healthy way and you get going? That's the question I have for you.
I don't know why you chose the one part I did not want to talk about. And that was the first question you asked me. But before I answer that question, I'd like to just say, Lara, I think you deserve a PhD, right? In volunteer management and volunteering, because everything. I'm someone that I volunteered since when I was in year one in the university, and I'm still volunteering. So if I volunteered for that long, I know a thing or two about volunteering. And you see, everything that Lara has said, you need to just compose everything and pack it into a book, please, because people need to hear it. People need to just understand it. Yeah, and so detox. Now, the reason why detox is different for different people, right? What I need to detox from is different from what another person will need to detox from. But the first thing is acknowledgement that there's been there's a certain pastor who's always talking about trauma, right? The trauma people have been carrying. You need to just understand and identify that, look, there's been deposits that have been negative, and I need to clear myself of these deposits so that I can empty myself. I keep holding myself not to not to use the Bible, so that I can empty myself, right? And I can give value. So it could be, for me, I'm going to talk about how I do it. And now, because this is such a complex issue, that's the reason why I didn't want to, talk about it in depth. But how I do it is I have friends and I have different buckets. I don't even think I know the different buckets of friendships that I have, but I have different buckets of friendship. So if I'm having family emotional issues, I know who to call. If I'm having professional work issues, I know who to call. If I'm depending on the different, because one of the things I struggled with early on was having mentors, because I just felt, oh, I've identified this person as a great person and I want the person to be my mentor. Then the person does something and I'm like, oh my God, how can you do that? So you need to realize that no one individual can have everything that you want. So it's important to have different buckets of people that you go to for different parts of your life. So it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be career wise. In any way, just identify someone that you feel, I mean, that's what I do, that you feel you can engage with. But I also know that a lot of women, African women, surprisingly, have in recent time spoken to me about the value they got in therapy, right? As African women, it's kind of alien. I mean, so for me to see so many African women talking about it, I'm like, okay, there's something in it. Not something I've experienced myself, but I've seen so many women heal and become maximize their potential from just visiting a therapist. So I'm beginning to get convinced that it's really good, right? For you to, or it's something worth exploring, getting a therapist and speaking to a therapist. And also having critical friends, because, sometimes our mindset is what clouds our judgment. We may think someone has been mean to us, whereas all we just need to do is to just get a second opinion. And then we realize that we are the ones that even have issues ourselves. It's not the person, right? So sometimes it also helps, right, to talk to someone else, to get a second opinion, to say, oh, this happened, and this is how I feel about it. But you need to be careful about who you have those conversations with, because I also know that some people have been burnt in that process. But I can't count the number of times that I have thought that, oh, that woman or that person was the witch from Oz. And I just run it through someone. I'm like, they were like, they say to you, "Bra, are you normal? You said, think about what you said. Think about it. You are the one who has, and we are emotional beings. Maybe the person said something that struck a chord, and then we've now internalized it, we've mixed it, put curry, put pepper, we've turned into what it's not, right? So just having that critical friend where you can share that, look, this is what happened. What do you think? And then they put your head, sometimes we need our head to be in the right shape. They help you, just put your head in the right shape and look at it with a clear, with a clear head and with a clear sense. And then, so those are the ways that I know about. But, like I said, I'm not a professional or an expert in this area. But hey, those are the things that I know and that have worked for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I like how you mentioned therapy. And then with the part you said, talk to another person. And that's what you do in therapy, really. You're talking to a professional. Because sometimes some people tend to overthink. So what the person is trying to say is not the way you are saying it. And you don't get to see it when you're talking to them. It's when you get home, you're like, oh, how could they say that? Oh, that's what I mean, they didn't say the word, but you're trying to link it up to something else and all of that. Yeah, especially for overthinkers, therapy is quite important. Thank you. So I want to ask Laura a question. As a speaker and expert in this field, what advice would you give organizations striving to create a more diverse and equitable workplace for women, especially in some cases where women are seen to be brilliant, or the level of brilliance and intelligence is determined by your marital status, you know, your age. Sometimes you hear things like, oh, how old are you? Even a woman like you would just say, oh, I'm older than this girl, how do you think organizations can strive to create a more diverse and equitable workplace for women?
Thank you so much. Great question, Rama. So, a couple of things that organizations can do to create diversity and inclusiveness for women in the workplace. I think first and foremost for me, it starts with the leadership of that company. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, how are the leaders embracing diversity and inclusion? It starts from leadership. My organization, a couple of years ago, we went on a mandate to increase women in management. And that didn't just start from hiring more women. It started with getting more women on the board of the organization. When I joined the business in 2019, we had just one woman on our board. Today, as I speak, the business has taken intentional effort to bring on board more women. So now we have 3 women on board. We are on a journey. What that means for us is right from the board level, Leadership is seeking to increase diversity in our workplace with focus on women. What we've also done is we equally set up a women's network about 5, 6 years ago as well. Because when we talk about creating diversity and enabling environment for women, we need to give a voice to women in the workplace. And such mentoring community of women with clear vision and purpose to growing the capability of women in the workplace is really powerful. That becomes our voice. And let me share an example of how leveraging on such platform has helped us to create a more inclusive initiative within the organization. So there was a time we were having our town hall, engaging with our former group managing director. And then a woman spoke up and asked a question. Why don't we have a crèche where women can bring their babies to work and their nanny so that they can be more productive? Because the feedback was when they come back from maternity leave, it's always a challenge commuting to our location, our papa, where our papa is. If it was VI, the feedback was it's easier to find crèches in that location. But it was a lot difficult to find crèches in that environment. One woman spoke up, and today, as I speak to you, the business took that feedback. We have a crèche in our organization where you can bring in your baby and your nanny, all all in the need to create more inclusive environment for women. Having said that, policies are also very important. Putting the right policies in place that engenders diversity and inclusion of women in the workplace. We had to we designed the sexual harassment policy a couple of years back, and just beyond the policy, we also had training sessions, engagement sessions across the entire organization. And such has really been very effective when it came to educating people around workplace sexual harassment and the like. The network also became our advocacy group where women were able to come up with initiatives and we were able to advocate for initiatives that relates to developing our women. Through that same network, we've also been able to come up with different capacity building initiatives targeted at women around mentoring, around confidence, around even financial management in the workplace. So in a nutshell, it starts from leadership owning that mandate, then ensuring that initiatives, policies are in place, women advocacy group. But there was a time that we had we lost 2 women to breast cancer. And after we had that experience, we started advocating for pre-medical checkup for women, even though we do have it, but a lot of people were not maximizing it. We started advocating for women doing, their screenings, the breast screening, cervical screening, and the likes. And that advocacy helped us to get more women be aware of its importance, and of course create more inclusive environments in the workplace. So it's really been a journey for us as an organization because we work in the male dominated environment in manufacturing. But I can tell you that with the intentionality of our leadership, now we have one woman on our ESCO. We didn't have a woman on our ESCO member before. So the business is really committed to having more women take on management roles as a way of giving opportunity to younger women to grow and thrive, and also giving room for more diverse perspective and views from women when these critical decisions are being taken by the organization. It's a journey, and I think for a lot of companies with more focus around driving and increasing the number of women on boards, number of women in management groups, it's an opportunity where a lot of companies are now beginning to embrace it more. And beyond just the International Women's Day, I think some companies also have their own activities focused solely on women to further enable women grow and thrive in their organization. Thank you. Rama, are you there? Can you hear me? Your screen is frozen. I, I can't hear her.
Thank you so much. This is so good.
Now I
Yes,
can
you
hear
can.
you.
Can you hear me now? How about now? Oh, great. I said thank you so much for that comment, and that was really so good. I love the fact where you said, "Oh, your company had to organize a crutch for the children so that mothers could bring their babies and their nannies to come attend to." I mean, with that, you can tell that they won't have divided attention. Their work. My baby is here. I am okay. I can focus. But then when the babies are home, then you are at work, they're calling you, baby's doing this and that, and then you are divided. I think that's so beautiful. I wish all other organizations can model that, that tactics, and then it will really help. So I have a last question for Oluwaseyi. I know that you talked about this the strategies and actions, but I really would love for you to give a real life example on strategic actions that have proven successful in fostering strong alliances and solidarity among women. So a real life example of the outcome of fostering strong alliances and solidarity among women.
Um, I'm trying to think. So, a real outcome of. Can you take the question again? I'm not sure I understand.
Mm.
Hey, Rama, can you hear me? Can you take the question again? I'm not so clear on
That I
that.
would like for you to share. Okay, so I said that I would like for you to share a real life example of how the outcome of strong alliance and solidarity among women look like. So I know you talked about the strategies, you talked about personal branding, you talked about the quote about Michelle Obama earlier when you said, when the goal low, you go high, but when the goal low, you go high. So I know you talked about the strategies and actions that have proven successful in fostering strong alliances and solidarity among women. So a real life example of a woman who is enjoying, allyship, and how does it reflect in you as a woman, really, for people who do not still understand the benefit, of being in this community. I know you mentioned community, you were talking about you just have to have your tribe, your people, but some people still cannot get it. So tell us a real life.
Okay, so I think I understand. First and foremost, I shared the example of PWN, right? And that's why for PWN, we're all about community. Three key things that we do: we help people build the competence, confidence, and connections. And connections is all about community building, right? And that's because for me as an individual, I have been, and I'm still part of so many communities that have shaped me, right? And the support, one of the things that a lot of people talk about, especially when they come to for our programs is, where do you get the facilitators from? Because one feedback we always get is that the facilitators are just usually spot on for the topics that where do you get them from? And I tell them, do you know all our facilitators are my friends? I have at least not all, but at least 70% of our global workforce, I have a personal relationship with them. And each and every one of them, I have gotten them through networks, through different networks. I mean, so many networks, so many networks across the world, some in the US, some in the UK where I'm based, some in Africa. I mean, so many networks, right? So being part of those networks have helped me to foster connection, right? But I mean, now drawing down to an example that many people can relate with. Now, I don't know any of these two women personally, right? But I can, from what I see online, it's a good model of allyship, right? And I don't know where they met, but we all know this lady, Niger Grand Chick. I think her name is Nelly. I don't know what her surname is, but she's popularly referred to as Niger Grand Chick. Niger Grand Chick. She's quite popular. We all know her, right? You know that she has one friend that she's always talking about, Chioma. So you see those two. I mean, there was some years ago, I think about 2 years ago, a few women across Africa were selected to be mentees to um, Mr. Tony Elumelu, right? TOE. And so I was one of the mentees, and the two of them were also one of the mentees. And one of the things TOE asked was, have you all both always been friends? And they said no. You'd have thought, oh, they've known each other since when they were in primary school or secondary school. No, right? It started from one person identifying that this is my vision, this is my purpose, and this is the kind of person that I need to go with me on this journey, and identify that the other person as being key to going with her on that journey. And then one person was deliberate about going to connect with the other person. And today they have an allyship. I don't know them personally. I mean, beyond the fact that, I mean, we're all mentees of, TOE. I don't know them personally, but I see the impact, the incredible impact of allyship that they are showing, not only online, but in their personal lives, right? So I think it's almost a no-brainer, right? It's almost a no-brainer. Every aspect of my life, right, is been based on allyship. I'll give an example. I applied for one fellowship. I mean, it's a global fellowship, fantastic fellowship, and all of that. And someone that I know wrote an incredible letter of recommendation to the decision-making committee to say, look, I recommend this person, blah, 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 blue, blue, blue. Now, the outcome of that has not come out. But when I saw the letter, I was like, they must not be in there. If they don't select me, that comes from allyship. I possibly, in the first instance, I possibly would have never even gotten to know about the fellowship, if not for that person who said, look, Sheyi, I see this and I see your name there, right? Go for it. I will support you. Now, this person, I've not seen this person in more than 2 decades, right? So allyship doesn't also have to do with, in person, or you see the person. I've not even spoken to the person until that time. I had not spoken to the person for more than 2 decades. So allyship it's not just in, like allyship is different from friendship. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. It's different from friendship. Is that you're going out of your way to deliberately say, I'm going to support, I'm going to advocate, and I'm going to help this person to become a better version of him or herself.
Thank you. I like how you differentiated and now you clarified that it's because you're clear on what you're doing with this person. I want to support you, I want to guide you, I want to hold you accountable and see you get to where you're going, which is quite important because people confuse it sometimes thinking, oh, my friend. And I like the fact that you also mentioned that those people you're using as an example, they've not even known each other for ages. They've not been together forever. It was friendship they started along the line while navigating life. And that reminds me of this saying that it's not the length of a relationship, it is the strength of a relationship that matters. That's really good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So before we go, I would like you to give one word. I mean, a word of advice. What would you like to add? What would you like to end your statement or your presentation with? So, Laura, I'll start with you. What is that one advice you have for everyone listening at this time that they can hold on to and thrive with?
All right, please confirm you can hear me. I had network issues. All right.
I can hear
Okay, so
you.
awesome. Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to appreciate this platform for this amazing opportunity to learn and to share. Without this amazing platform, we all won't be here today to learn again. Thank you so much, Rama, for being a great moderator. I love listening to your sonorous voice. Thank you. And thank you so much, Oluwaseyi Kainde Peters. Such an honor to share this stage, virtual stage with you, big madam. So I've created my connection today. I'm going to be sliding in your DM after this session. Awesome time. I've had an amazing time. I think my parting words to everyone would be know you are limitless. Know you are limitless. A lot of times, as women, we have caged our amazing potential through limiting mindsets, through what people have said about us, through, oh, what would they say? Through, oh, I'm shy. I can't do this. I can't do that. You are limitless. I've gotten to a point now where every day I am a lot more intentional about me. It's not just about the society, it's not about wanting to also trend. No, it's me loving myself more. So know that you're limitless. Love yourself every day. I mean, every day I wake up from a place of gratitude. I'm just saying, yes, Lara, you made mistake. Yes, you've done, but it's okay. You are okay the way you are. And I love you. As women, we wait till people tell us they love us before we validate ourselves. Say I love you to yourself. I do that every day, and gosh, it feels so good. I'm so loving. I love you so much. And we say I love you to our families, to our children, to our loved ones, even to our friends. I mean, I'm sending chats to my buddies. I love you, 11. I'm like, me, girl. I haven't said I love you to myself. So you're limitless, and every day in a state of gratitude, love yourself because there's no one else like you, and you are a gift to this world. And as a woman, you are an amazing gift to our world. To every woman out there, I love you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so
Lara.
much for that. That's really
Go ahead, Rama. Sorry.
Thank you so much for that. That was really so good. I like the fact that I like the emphasis on self-love, self-acceptance, because sometimes we give these things out to other people, forgetting that we ourselves are important and we need them. We need self-love, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-compassion. It is really quite important. Thank you. That's such a beautiful words pulled together. Over to you, Oluwaseyi. Please, what is your parting words for everyone listening at this time?
It's the same as Lara has said. I mean, I don't have anything different to say because for us women, right, I don't know whoever gave us that impression that, oh, a strong woman is the ultimate, right? Is the next best thing after God, right? You need to love yourself and you need to take care of yourself. You see, And what I'm very passionate about that is that at the end of the day, all the people that we are carrying, all the burdens that we are carrying on our shoulder, if we die today, will still be taken care of. Right? So focus and prioritize on yourself. Focus and prioritize your emotional and physical and mental well-being. Focus and prioritize on your career. Focus and prioritize on your goals. Be selfish. Focus on you, because like I said, you cannot give what you don't have. If you don't build you cannot give. If you don't learn, you cannot give. If you don't know, you cannot give. If you're not happy, I'm sure that a lot of us grew up in, not us, I mean, a lot of people grew up in environments that had a lot of trauma, right? But that's just because a number of our mothers were not happy. They sacrificed everything at the expense of their own happiness and their own joy. So please, woman, you are powerful, but focus on you. When you are beautiful, you can give beauty out. When you are valuable, you can give value out. And when you are happy, it will radiate to everybody and the people you love. And Rama, please say, you've been making people like us feel like we did not go to school. I love your voice. As in, when I heard your voice, I'm like, Shay, and you think you can speak English? It's okay. It's okay. You have heard someone whose English went to Harvard. It's okay. Please don't be making us feel like we didn't go to school. But once again, thank you all. Thank you, Lara. You said you were sliding here. I think I'll beat you to it, right? Because right after this, I'll slide it to you. Thank you all. I've really, really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are super glad to have you at this time. Trust me, the session, I mean, has been so great. I can't tell you. I've been writing, and this is so beautiful for me, I must say personally, and I'm sure that it's the same for every other person. You both are awesome, phenomenal. I enjoyed every bit of my moment with you. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. We look forward to seeing you some other time. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you. And don't stop being a blessing to the world. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's session. It's been such an amazing time together on this beautiful session, Power Women International Women's Day webinar. This is such a good time. You need to have your community, you need to have your tribe. Enough of, oh, I'm a strong woman. It's okay to be strong, but you have to be feminine. You have to enjoy yourself. You have to love yourself, accept yourself, forgive yourself, be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. Let go. Embrace therapy. Do not neglect yourself. It is really quite important. If you're not yet a member of the community, please follow us on social media, the Power Women Network, and you would be attended to. I mean, send DM on Instagram or Twitter, whichever the social media you use. Just send a DM and join this amazing community. And trust me, you'll be glad that you did, because you will meet a lot of phenomenal women like you who are willing to accept you without judging you, who are willing to listen to you, who are willing to see you grow. They are rooting for you. And that's such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much once again for this beautiful session and for joining us on this great session. We look forward to having you some other time. And I am Rahma Zakaria, your moderator for today. Thank you and bye for now.